All right, buckle up because today we're diving headfirst into Catoctin Furnace, Maryland. Now, before you think, oh, great, another rusty old ironworks, trust me on this one, this place, overflowing with untold stories, especially for history buffs like you. We're taking a deep dive into this article from American Archaeology, and get this, it's not your typical stuffy academic paper. It's absolutely jam-packed with incredible details, vivid images, and even a personal connection that adds a whole other layer to it all.
What I find so captivating about Catoctin Furnace is that it's not just some relic of industrial history. It's like a portal.
Right.
A portal into the lives of the people who actually lived and worked there, especially those who are way too often left out of that traditional historical narrative.
Yeah. Exactly. Okay, so picture this. It's the 1770s, the Revolutionary War is in full swing, and Catoctin Furnace is just churning out cannonballs. Talk about a vital part of history. And then fast forward to the 19th century, it's supplying iron for everything. Railroads, the very first automobiles, you name it.
And we can't forget, this site, like so many industrial sites during that era, relied heavily on the labor of enslaved Africans and African Americans. Their stories, which are unfortunately often missing from the history books, are absolutely crucial to understanding the complete picture of American industrialization.
It's true. It's easy to get lost in this grand narrative of a place like Catoctin Furnace, but this article does a fantastic job of bringing it down to a human level. For instance, the archaeologist who spearheaded this whole research project, Elizabeth Comer, she has this direct personal connection to Catoctin Furnace.
Oh yeah, her parents were instrumental in saving the site back in the 60s and 70s, preventing a highway from being built right through it. Can you imagine the history that would have been lost?
It's like it was destiny that Comer ended up leading the charge to uncover these stories that were hidden beneath the surface at Catoctin Furnace. And it all started with this remarkable discovery back in the 1970s. A burial ground was unearthed during an archaeological dig.
And these weren't just any burials. These were the final resting places of the individuals who toiled at the furnace, offering us this rare, really rare glimpse into their lives and maybe even their deaths.
The article details how analysis of the skeletal remains revealed signs of injuries, diseases, even potential zinc poisoning, likely from working in the mines and the furnace itself. Can you imagine the toll that took on their bodies?
Oh, absolutely. It's a stark reminder of the harsh realities they faced day in and day out.
Hmm.
And, in one particularly striking detail, the remains of one woman showed incredibly high levels of lead.
That is fascinating. What can you tell us about lead poisoning back then?
Well, lead poisoning was, sadly, pretty common back then,
Yeah.
particularly among those who used pewter dishes and utensils, which were more common among the, shall we say, lower classes.
So even within the enslaved community at Catoctin Furnace, there were social hierarchies and differences in living conditions.
Precisely. This discovery, this whole pewter situation, it offers us this little glimpse into the complexities of social dynamics within that community, right?
Yeah.
Adding another layer to our understanding of life at Catoctin Furnace.
It's those little details that make this so compelling. But the story doesn't end there. The article also highlights how Comer's vision extended beyond just, unearthing the past. She wanted to connect it to the present. And that's where Crystal Emery comes in. Through traditional genealogical research, she discovered a family connection to Catoctin Furnace, what Comer calls collective kinship. Emery's ancestor, Robert Patterson, was a free black man who worked the furnace in the mid-1800s.
Emery's story is incredible. It illustrates the importance of exploring family histories, and recognizing those diverse experiences within African American communities, even centuries ago. And then, what happened next? Groundbreaking. DNA analysis enters the picture.
Okay, now we're talking. This is where things get really interesting. We're not just talking about tracing ancestry here. We're talking about using DNA to potentially connect those individuals from the Catoctin Furnace burial ground to their living descendants today.
Truly remarkable. This breakthrough was made possible by those advancements in direct-to-consumer DNA testing. Companies like 23andMe and Ancestry DNA.
So how does that actually work?
Well, these companies have these massive, and I mean massive, databases of genetic information, right? From millions of people who submitted their DNA for analysis. So the researchers at Catoctin Furnace, working with 23andMe, they were able to compare the DNA extracted from the skeletal remains to this vast database.
So it's like searching for a needle in a haystack, but the haystack is enormous and the needle is a genetic match.
Exactly, and they found matches.
Wow, that's incredible. So they were able to connect people living today with their ancestors who were buried at Catoctin Furnace all those years ago, just through DNA.
It really is something. And the findings, they were astounding. The DNA analysis confirmed that the individuals buried at Catoctin Furnace had both African and European ancestry. It even showed that some individuals were related, like actual family groups buried together.
That's amazing. They were able to piece together family units from centuries ago using DNA.
They were. And there's more. The analysis also showed genetic health risks in some individuals, like a predisposition to sickle cell anemia.
That's fascinating. It makes you wonder if those genetic predispositions were passed down and might still be present in their living descendants today.
Exactly. And the geographical spread of these descendants is really intriguing too. While many stayed in Maryland, there was a large concentration of descendants in Southern California.
So families spread across the country, potentially connected by these shared genetic threads, reaching all the way back to Catoctin Furnace. But did they make any direct connections? Like finding a living person directly descended from someone buried there.
They did. Remember Agnes Jackson, the descendant of the enslaved ironworker Henson Summers?
Oh, yeah. That was from the collective kinship research.
Right. Well, they compared her DNA to the DNA from the remains. And they found a match. Agnes was genetically linked to a young child buried at Catoctin Furnace.
No way. Talk about bringing history to life. That is incredible.
It is. It's a powerful example of how technology can help us uncover these hidden connections to the past, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. As DNA databases grow, the potential for discovering even more ancestral links just increases. It's mind-blowing to think there might be people out there who have no idea they have a connection to Catoctin Furnace just waiting to be discovered. But even beyond the DNA discoveries, it sounds like Catoctin Furnace itself has become a place where the past isn't just buried, it's celebrated.
Oh, absolutely. The Catoctin Furnace Historical Society has done an incredible job creating a space where people can connect with history in a tangible way.
Oh, they really have.
They've gone above and beyond, creating a truly immersive experience. It's not just a museum. They have a working ironworkers forge, walking trails, historical markers, restored buildings. They even have a house you can stay in.
Wait, you can actually spend the night at Catoctin Furnace?
You can. It's called the Forgeman's House, built in the 1820s. And get this, the section of the floor, it's glass. So you can see artifacts they found during the restoration.
That's incredible, like stepping back in time. It sounds like they found that perfect balance, Preserving the history, but also making it accessible to people today.
Exactly. They've created this multifaceted experience where you can really engage with history through sight, sound, even touch. And they're not done yet. They're working on restoring more worker homes with this idea of creating a space for community engagement. And who knows, maybe even economic opportunities.
It's amazing how they took this place, a place that was literally facing demolition, and turned it into this thriving center for history and community. It really speaks to the power of preservation, research, and community engagement.
It does. And it reminds us that these historical sites, they're not just about the past. They're living, breathing spaces that can still teach us, connect us, and inspire us.
Speaking of connecting with the past, one of the most powerful stories to come out of Catoctin Furnace has to be that of Agnes Jackson. Finding that genetic link between her and that young girl buried there, it gives me chills just thinking about it.
It really does underscore those very real human connections bridging centuries. These weren't just nameless individuals who lived and died. They were mothers, fathers, children, siblings. They had hopes, dreams, experiences that deserved to be remembered.
And thanks to the work being done at Catoctin Furnace, their stories are finally being told. Makes you wonder what other secrets are still hidden there, just waiting to be uncovered.
That's the beauty of archaeology and genetic research. It's this never-ending process of discovery. I mean, as technology advances and more people contribute their DNA to those databases, who knows what other connections we might find, what other stories we might be able to tell.
It's like Catoctin Furnace is a metaphor for history itself. There are always more layers to uncover, more perspectives to consider, more stories to tell.
And that's what makes it so fascinating. There's always something new to learn, to understand, to grapple with.
Absolutely. So if this deep dive into Catoctin Furnace has, sparked your curiosity, I have a little challenge for you. Imagine the stories that might be hidden in your own family history. Maybe there's a Catoctin Furnace in your own lineage, just waiting to be discovered. It strikes me that you don't need a whole team of archaeologists or a fancy DNA lab to start exploring your own family's history.
That's so true. Sometimes the most incredible journeys, they start with the simplest thing, a question, just a spark of curiosity, that desire to learn more about where you come from.
Exactly. So go on, dive in, dig into those family stories, break out those old photo albums, see what you can uncover. Who knows? You might be surprised by the connections you stumble upon. Until next time, happy digging.